So what's up, guys? We're going to do a top 5 favorite horror films list with my daughter. So anyway, here we go. What's up, guys? I had such a positive response from my last video with my daughter that I thought, hey, if I could get her to do one more video before she leaves, and she'll be leaving tomorrow. So, thank you, Jessie. And if you didn't see the last video, this is my daughter, Jessie. So,
hi, everyone.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
How dare you?
So anyway, we're going to do something fun. We're going to do a top 5. And I can't believe I've never done this on my channel. Top 5 horror films of all time. Sounds easy enough, right? So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to start it off with an honorable mention. So, anyway, what's your honorable mention, Jessie?
I'd probably say Don't Breathe is actually my honorable mention, and I don't think it's a perfect film or anything like that. I think that the directing style is very similar to my favorite director, Fincher, and I think that's worth mentioning, if only for the directing. And I thought it was just a fun movie that anyone could kind of enjoy. The only thing I didn't like about it is the trailer gave away the biggest part of the movie. Like, one of the...
Such a stupid trailer.
I hate how they did that.
Hell? That's a big problem that they do with trailers anyway today. I'm tempted to not look at the trailers, but I can't help myself because
you have to know the trailer to see if you want to see the movie.
Right.
But they gave away the biggest part of the movie.
Yeah, they did.
So if I went into it and didn't see that, that would have been a huge shock, which it wasn't. But overall, I thought that the directing and pacing and just everything about the movie I really enjoyed. So I'd say that would be my honorable mention.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I have no idea what her top 5 is going to be, except for maybe her number 1. But yeah, I love Don't Breathe. That's a great one, and it's not on my list, actually. But yeah, love Don't Breathe. My honorable mention is going to be The Shining, actually. The Shining is just a bona fide classic, and still to this day, it's one of the most unique horror films, probably because Kubrick did it. And it's one of the few horror films that Kubrick has done. But it's a masterpiece in my eyes. The performance by Jack Nicholson,
amazing.
One of the greatest horror performances ever.
You can't go wrong with King. I mean, Stephen King.
Stephen King too.
Which
is the... Are you going to go see the new It movie when it comes out?
Of course.
Yeah.
You got to see the new It movie.
Right. Okay, you're number 5. Go ahead, Jessie. I'll take Levi.
Okay, you do it. I would say my number 5 would probably be Let the Right One In. You gotta have a foreign film in there.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think that would be one of the better?
It's so funny that you said that because that was my number 5.
Oh, no, really? Yes. That's too funny.
My number 5 was Let the Right One In, so now I have to change that. That's okay, though. I have my letterbox.
It is a great movie, though. I feel like anyone who hasn't watched it, if you like vampire movies, it's definitely worth watching. When you say
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I love Let the Right One In. Just to say my spiel about Let the Right One In, let me put Levi down. Yeah, that was going to be my number 5. I'll pick something different, but yeah, I wanted to have a foreign film in there, and 2, even if it wasn't a foreign film, it's just, to me, it's so unique. You know, you almost forget that it's a vampire movie just because of how well acted and how well directed it is. But yeah, that's a great choice.
And the fact that it's foreign and you have to read it didn't even bother me at all.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have issues with having to read the subtitles, but it didn't take me out of the film whatsoever. I think it was it was better than the remake. Yeah. I would say than Let Me In.
Absolutely, and Let Me In is a good movie, but you can't even touch the original. So my number 5, it wasn't going to originally be on the list, but now it's on the list, is Return of the Living Dead. It's have you ever seen Return of the Living Dead?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to show her Return of the Living Dead.
Is that part of a trilogy, or what is
No, it's a long story, but Return of the Living Dead is just a really fun zombie movie. Dan O'Bannon actually directed it, who wrote Alien.
Oh, okay.
And so the rights for the Night of the Living Dead were all mixed up, and then the name Return of the Living Dead was taken by the other writers, so he used that name, but it has nothing to do with the original Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay.
But if you want zombie horror, but it's so fun, a lot of comedy thrown in, Return of the Living Dead does it perfectly.
Is it 80s or what?
Yeah, 1987, 80s? Okay. I think it came out.
Yeah, that's probably why I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's a very unique zombie film. And back then, there weren't too many like horror comedies coming out. So I'd say you should definitely check it out.
Definitely watch.
It's a really good movie.
I always like a good horror movie.
Right, there you go. What is your number 4?
I would probably say The Strangers would probably be my number 4.
Good one.
The Strangers.
Really good one.
I mean, it's not a perfect movie either, And it's kind of ridiculous that they tried to say that that is a true story, because if you research it at all, that is not a true story. They tried to base it somewhat loosely on the Manson murders.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it said online, was that it's kind of loosely based on the Manson murders, even though it's really not even that similar to that. And with the whole knocking at the beginning, the director put that in there because that was kind of a traumatizing experience that happened to him as a kid, which was really scary. So he put that in the movie. Yeah, but it's really not based on a true story at all. But I remember my mom screaming from across the room in that movie. It is. You
did your research on that one. I didn't even know that the Manson connection.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wanted to look it up and see, because I mean, when you hear something like that happens, I wanted to see how true it is, because I think anything that's said to be true, it's probably not true. So I always have to research it. If it's that intense, and if you've never heard of that before, you know, so yeah, I looked into that one.
That's funny that you mentioned The Strangers, because we just recently watched, what was the name of the movie we just watched? The Monster.
Oh, which is the director of The Strangers.
Yeah, so look for my review for that one to come out. I'm probably going to record it tomorrow. So yeah, The Monster. I'm not going to tell you what I think about it right now. My number 4 is actually Alien. Ridley Scott's Alien. Just another masterpiece of a film. I just like how claustrophobic it is. You know, it's all set in space, and when you're in space, you know, you don't have the protection of Earth. You know, you are stuck, I mean, literally stuck on a ship the whole time, and then the xenomorph is the most awesome creation ever as far as aliens go.
It's amazing that they were able to make that.
You can never top
incredible.
It. Yeah.
I like how different it is from Aliens 2 also. They're pretty much different.
Oh, yeah.
They're even different genres of movies. One action, one's horror.
Yeah, and I thought about putting Aliens on the list, but for me, I prefer Alien over Aliens, but they're both 5 out of 5 films.
And I think I prefer Aliens over... I think it's one of those films that it's kind of one way or the other, but they're both great films.
Yeah, you're not alone. So many people prefer Aliens over Alien and vice versa, but yeah. That's my number 4, so what's your number 3, Jesse?
I would have to say Goodnight Mommy is my number 3.
Wow, good. Another great pick.
Yeah, I loved Goodnight Mommy. I feel like that's one of the ones that if you watch it again, it might not be as powerful as it originally was if you've seen the end. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but that had one of the greatest twists at the end where I was literally, I mean, I thought about it for days because I just was like, how did I not notice that? But it was so subtle and so well done that I was so impressed with how they did that movie.
And Goodnight Mommy is actually kind of a remake of Tale of Two Sisters, which is a South Korean film.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. I've heard of that actually.
I'm actually supposed to do a review of that with the Horror Addicts here pretty soon. So, yeah, if Goodnight Mommy's excellent, and it's also a foreign film, but Tale of Two Sisters also excellent. And if you watch both movies, there are a lot of differences.
Which do you like more?
Probably Goodnight Mommy.
Yeah,
but they're both great.
Excellent.
Yeah,
it was an excellent movie.
So my number 3 is gonna be Black Christmas, the original, not the remake. Remake's fun. It took me a few watches to get into it, but the original is just a classic. Some say it's like one of the first slasher movies, but I completely disagree with that because I just watched a movie called Slaughter Hotel or something like that, and that's like 1972, and it's a slasher movie. So I don't think that's true, but the way Bob Clark directed it, I think, is perfection. Billy is one of the best killers I've ever seen on film. Jesse's never seen Black Christmas, right?
No, I have seen it. I just saw it a while ago that I don't really remember it that well. I saw the remake, and I didn't really like the remake that
the first time I saw it took me a few watches to appreciate the remake because there was an aspect of that film which I don't want to spoil that I hated.
Like a Santa or something? It doesn't have a Santa in it?
No, that's Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Oh, it's that one. Completely different movie. That was horrible.
Punish. That's the line in Silent Night, Deadly Night.
But I know I did see the remake of Black Christmas.
Yeah, you didn't. I
didn't like it.
I don't think you saw the original, but the original came out in '74. It's really eerie, just creepy as hell.
Isn't that your top favorite movies of all time?
It's definitely up there for. Yeah, I'm a big horror guy, so of course my top 20 movies are gonna have a lot of horror in them. But yeah, that's my number 3. So number 2, getting down to it. What's your number 2, Jess?
Last House on the Left, the remake of it. I've actually never seen the original.
Yeah.
Have you seen the original?
I've seen the original. I prefer the remake.
The remake, it was a tough watch. It's not one you'd want to watch with your dad either, unless it's fast forward. Awkward to watch with your dad. That's definitely true. But yeah, I think that was one of the best movies I've seen. That was one. It was so intense, and I love the shift from focusing on the daughter and her situation to shifting to the parents. It was so seamless. I thought it was beautifully done. Really good movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. The one thing that I took from the remake, and I constantly I'm harping about the remake on like Scream Stream and other videos, we're gonna actually do a review of that the next time you come down, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I love the remake. It's so well because most remakes are not done that well at all. So when you find one that's as good as the remake of Last House on the Left, you're happy. And I saw it before I saw the original actually. But
what I don't understand is it has like 38% or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's
they're so
Don't even get me started on Rotten Tomatoes with
horror movies. It's always
I think that horror movies get a bad rap on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, sometimes it's right, but I think there's a lot of good horror movies that aren't given a fair shake.
And then they give way too much credit to some of those artsy movies that just I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay, my number 2 is going to be John Carpenter's The Thing. Yep. You like The Thing, right?
Yeah, of course. I don't think anyone wouldn't like The Thing. I like the prequel to it too.
Yeah.
Or the sequel. It's a sequel, right?
No, it's actually a prequel.
Yeah,
the prequel gets a bad rap, I think.
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
I like it too. I'd like to see that practical effects version, but it's still really good. But as far as John Carpenter's The Thing goes, if you want to talk about paranoia in an isolated environment, and it's freezing outside. And I have this thing with movies that are set, in the snow for some reason.
Yeah, you do.
I love horror movies that are set in the snow. But ask anybody. John Carpenter's The Thing is a bona fide classic. It's a hard movie to beat in my eyes, and it came out at the wrong time because Steven Spielberg's E.T. came out and just completely buried it. John Carpenter was devastated by the hate, pure hate that he got from the movie. And it's awesome to see that now, all these years later, it's considered one of the greatest horror movies ever.
Didn't he say, too, at the end, one of them is The Thing? He knows who it is, they know who it is, but no...
I've read that John Carpenter himself actually knows, and maybe Kurt Russell, that they know who the real thing is at the end, but they'll never tell it.
Know.
Which I think is awesome.
Know. Yeah, right. Yeah, I know, I do and don't want to know.
Yeah, I almost don't want to know.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it more eerie.
But... so we're up to number 1, right? Or did you give your number 2?
No, I gave Last House on the Left was my number 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we're down to number 1. I think I know what Jesse's number 1 is. Go ahead, Jesse. Number 1.
It Follows is definitely my number 1. I think it was one of the most phenomenal movies I've ever seen. And I love how, I don't know if anyone would see it this way, but I saw it as kind of symbolic of how STDs follow you everywhere. And how one mistake can kind of haunt you the rest of your life. So I thought that was it was just I love how it plays tribute to the 80s. The music, I think the score is probably, other than, like Halloween and stuff like that, the score is probably one of the best scores I've ever heard in a movie.
Oh.
It was just, it was breathtaking, that movie. The cinematography, everything. It was
I actually did a Drumdums watches of It Follows recently, and I talked about that experience of how me, you, and Mike, we were literally running to the theater. And I missed part of the movie.
You missed the first part, and I remember when it started, it had that score. I was like, my dad loved this.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
The score is so good.
Yeah, it was so phenomenal.
It Follows is definitely in my top 20 of all time. That's how great that movie is to me.
It's amazing. It's in my probably top 5 of all time.
Yeah, I'm constantly harping on It Follows. But the score by Disasterpiece is one of the best scores I've ever heard. So I applaud you for picking It Follows. And It Follows also borrows heavily, I think, from my number 1, John Carpenter's Halloween. Nice segue. I love how that fit right in. That's awesome.
We have pretty much the same taste in movies.
Yeah.
It's true.
But, what do I need to say else about John Carpenter's Halloween? I've said it so many times in so many of my reviews, but to me, John Carpenter's Halloween is just perfection.
Masterpiece. Yeah, it is a masterpiece. Yeah. I do think it is one. I just knew you would have that.
Yeah, you don't want to.
If anyone who knows my dad knows, I can't really say Halloween when he was going to steal that one.
Yeah, but it's Carpenter's direction. You have the greatest killer ever in my mind, Michael Myers. He's the only killer that's ever given me nightmares. So that's got to count for something,
Mike,
right?
too. Mike had nightmares.
Yeah, my son Mike has actually said Michael Myers gave him nightmares.
Yeah.
So, and the greatest score I think I've ever heard.
I do think that's the greatest score.
Definitely. They play it at Universal Studios even.
Do they really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which I think is awesome.
And even, I actually like a lot of movies, the sequels are horrible, but I actually like a lot of the Halloween movies.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of them get a bad rap.
It's my favorite franchise.
Yeah, I do think a lot of them. Everyone says the one with Paul Rudd is so bad. I actually enjoyed it with you.
Halloween 6 is one of my favorite sequels.
I actually thought it was a lot of fun.
What do you think of Resurrection?
Resurrection, I thought was horrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was awful.
So you know that she's actually cool because she hated Resurrection.
Yeah, it was just god awful.
That was just checking. So.
Just making sure.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's our top 5. Post down in the comments your top 5 horror films of all time. Looking forward to hearing them.
Thanks for watching.
Yes, thank you so much, Jesse, for joining me for 2 great videos this week. I really enjoyed it. Come on over to Killer Flicks. Jesse actually comes to Killer Flicks all the time. Comments in there. So become a member if you haven't. Also, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and
Drumdums out.